All right, what's up? So take a look. In this module, we're going to be going over some of the things that don't necessarily fall into the scope of you showing up and working out, but are things I think you need to know and things I think you're going to find interesting. And it's just going to give you a little bit more insight into how this all works. We're going to start with just what goes on during a repetition. Picture a cable column right here, and I'm going to be doing a bicep curl like this with the handle. That motion right there, where this muscle shortens, is called the concentric motion. Okay. Every exercise has it. If it were a lat pull down, this would be my back muscles and bicep muscles shortening. If it was a tricep push down, it would actually be where I straighten my arm like that. The other end of the motion is called the eccentric. This is where the muscle belly lengthens against resistance. When that happens, and the resistance is right, meaning that it's not too light nor too heavy, there's going to be muscle fiber tears created. Right? When you do like 8, 10, 12 reps, that's what's going on that eccentric portion. Little muscle fiber tears are created. When you eat protein, you're aiding in the rebuilding of the muscle fibers because protein is the building block of muscle mass. When you sleep, you're giving the muscle a chance to recover. Anytime you put your body through a workout, any specific muscle groups, you are creating what's called fatigue. And so this is, I'll show you real quick in like a super simple chart, what you can think about. So here's your stimulus. Here's your bicep curl. Here is what's called homeostatic disruption, which is what I was basically just telling you about, the microfiber tears. Your muscles are actually weaker after a solid workout because you have fatigued them. Then you sleep and eat, they recover. And then if you do this time after time after time, and you add load, you do what's called progressively overloading your muscles, which is adding weight month after month, year after year, your body adapts and you get stronger. So that's the goal here, is to find that right weight for you, where you are creating enough tension to tear muscle fibers, but not so much that you're potentially hurting yourself. And so when you're first starting off weight training, that trial and error is going to be there. And it's not going to be the same every single day. You will not add weight every single day. You might not even add weight every single week. You might be weaker one day than you were the next because of the amount of sleep that you got or the amount of carbohydrates that you had. But this is the drill. That's the drill. We're breaking things down and we're building them back up. We're making things harder and harder for ourselves as time goes on in order to increase our strength and increase our muscle mass. Now, that homeostatic disruption that I was telling you about, certain exercises hit that a little more than others. Isolation exercises like bicep curls, tricep extensions. Isolation is in like just one muscle group, aren't incredibly taxing. They're not incredibly taxing. You do an arm day, it's going to be very different from a leg day. Compound movements, things where you're using multiple joints at once, that is where the most amount of homeostatic disruption happens. You will be genuinely tired after a day where you do squats and lunges and hip thrusts compared to a day where you just do bicep curls, tricep extensions. And that's the interesting part, right? Is like some days will just be easier than others, and some days are gonna be harder than others. But you know what? It's like it's those days that you can really go hard on the muscles that need to be built that allow you to really build a physique. People don't do leg day for a fucking reason, and it's because it's hard. There are large muscle groups, and they take a fair amount of work to stimulate them, and to add weight to that over time isn't easy. But that's how a good set of wheels is developed. Now, not only do your muscles get weaker after a workout, your body goes through more and more fatigue as you work out week after week after week after week, because you're breaking yourself down. If you think about it, you're breaking down every muscle fiber if you're doing the right exercises. And so one of the things that you might see implemented into your calendar is called a deload week. And this is to give your body a chance to recover, just like you saw in the previous chart. And we might ask you to go to the gym and do similar workouts, but you do it half of the intensity. You do half of the amount of volume. And this gives you a chance to straight up recover so that you can come back stronger. And you'll usually find that we'll implement those after like 8 or 12 weeks. Newbies will tend to give a little bit more time too. But these are some of the things that you need to think about if you're going to do this in the long run. The goal is to break your body down. And there's actually there's like a term for it. I think it's called functional overreaching. And that's where you just push it and push it and push it and push it, and then settle back, let the adaptions occur. On the other end of the spectrum is something called non-functional overreaching, where you become fatigued due to just under-recovering, which is usually just a lack of sleep. Sleep is a huge part of this game. It's going to allow you to show up for your lifts. It's also going to allow you to eat well. If your brain is not fully recovered, you will make poor choices around food, and you will not be able to get quality workouts in. So one of the things that you really should start to dial in is like a bedtime that allows you to have 8 full hours of sleeping, especially if you have kids, you got a family, you got work, full-time job, and you're trying to do this. You're going to need to have 8 hours. Even if that means you got to get to bed at like 9 o'clock, do it. Maybe don't jump to it, but start to take cracks at it. Okay, but that's one thing I just wanted to go into you with today, is just the breaking down of muscle fibers and how progressive overload is the king. Add weight when it is appropriate. In future modules, I'm going to talk more about like repetition schemes and how you should start to understand the difference between like a set of 5 versus like a set of 12 and what they do for you. But for right now, just know that in the long run, you want to continue to work on your form, and you want to continue to add weight. Every single time you do an exercise, you are working on a new skill, whether it's a squat or a lunge or a bench press. And so as you do this skill, you're going to see that the way you do it is different from day 1 to day 100 to day 1000. And it's because your neuromuscular system is developing an awareness of it. You begin to feel like your chest during push-ups for the first time if you make sure that your hands are aligned with your shoulders. You'll be able to feel your glutes get involved and your quads activated during a squat if you find that you're keeping the right foot placement and you're going at a certain depth. So I want you to get into your head that you cannot just move. It doesn't fucking work like that. You need to be thinking about what you're doing, feeling what you're doing, and adjusting as you go. Okay, that's probably the biggest mistake I see people do at the gym, is they're wasting their time because they are just moving, and they're thinking that just because they're showing up and they're going through the movements means that they're going to see results. And more often than not, they're not doing the right range of motion. They are not positioning themselves in the right alignment. They're not going at the right speed. They're not doing enough volume. They're not using the proper weight. And so all these things I'm going to teach you about, but they come into play. Okay, so take your time with this stuff, show up, take your headphones out, go through it, pay attention, learn from your mistakes, send in videos of what you're doing so we can help you analyze your movement and enjoy the benefits. I mean, this is one of the best fucking habits that you can have. It's going to help you look a specific way. It's going to give you a certain amount of strength. It's going to make your body more resistant to injuries, and it boosts your metabolism because the more muscle you have in your body, the more calories you burn throughout the day. All right. I hope this was educational. I hope this was interesting, and I will see you in the next module.